And we're live. Hydrate.
There you go. I'm looking at two-step unit conversion questions. So it wants me to go from, what's the lowercase n stand for? In example 4, what's the lowercase n stand for? This is where we left off, yes? Okay. Nano, and it wants me to go to capital M, which I think is mega, yes?
Yes.
First thing I'm going to do, write down what they gave me. The reason I call this a two-step conversion is, although there is a way to do this in one step, and if you can't, great, feel free, there's a shortcut. Kyle, I just tend to go from nano to liters to mega. From nano to no prefix to new prefix. From original prefix to no prefix to new prefix. So I'm going to go multiply by a conversion factor. What's my first of all, I think actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over and change colors. Let's go like this. So rewrite what they gave me and multiply. I want nanoliters to cancel since they're on the top in my original fraction. I think I'll put them on the bottom. What do I want on top?
Regular liters.
Now understand, if I just stopped here, this is mathematical nonsense, because writing that conversion factor, what you're saying is liters and nanoliters are the same thing. They're not. But what I am saying is, you know that lowercase little n prefix in the bottom? That can be replaced on the top with a 10 to the... That's how I know where the 10 to the negative 9 goes. That's why it goes in front of the no prefix, the base unit. Those are the same. 10 to the negative 9 liters is 1 nanoliter. And I would say to myself, yay, I am now in liters, not done. Cal, what do I want to end up in? Did you say megaliters? If you didn't anyways, we'll pretend you did. Yeah. Now, that means, Kyle, my friend, because I want to end up in megaliters, I want megaliters to be on the top. What's going to go down here? Well, right now I'm in liters, so I better put the liters on the bottom so that I can say, yay, yay. Except this is also still a nonsense statement because a megaliter is not the same as a liter. But, Darian, what can I replace a mega with in front of the liter so that this is a conversion factor? Did you say 10 to the 6th? You would be right. So I think it's going to be 2,000 times 10 to the negative 9 divided by 10 to the 6th. I suspect you're going to get an answer in scientific notation because 2,000 nanoliters, Emma, is, I think your hair is about 100 nanoliters. So this is, sorry, well, if it was a distant nanometers, 2,000 nanoliters is really, really small, and a megaliter is really, really big. So I'm expecting a scientific notation, really small answer. Try this on your calculators, please, which, of course, you've gotten out because you're ready and able and eager to learn.
When I put the exponent, like, doesn't it try to go time?
Now, this is important. Are we doing scientific notation right now, Darian? Say no. So I'm not going to use my exp or my EE or my whatever button, because scientific notation is when I'm rewriting numbers and moving decimals around. Okay? From my formula sheet, I know it's also powers of 10, but that's just because the metric system is also based on powers of 10. Don't get the two of them confused. I'm going to type 2,000 times. I'm not going to be using my scientific notation button at all during a conversion. It's going to be 10 to the power of negative 9 divided by 10 to the power of 6.
When I do that, though, it doesn't go back.
I'm going to go like that.
It just like goes.
Okay. Now, if there's calculator glitches, let me look. I get 2 times 10 to negative 12, yes? Yes? If not, we'll try another one. Next one. 342.5 kilometers is how many millimeters? Well, this is going to be a big answer because I know a kilometer is a long distance and a millimeter is really, really tiny. So I'm going to assume it's going to be like probably in the 100 millions or the billions. So I'm expecting a big answer. What am I going to do first?
Write down what you have.
Yep. They gave me 342.5 kilometers. I want to get rid of kilometers. Where will I put the kilometers in the next conversion factor? Bottom? What will I put on the top? Just plain old meters? This is nonsense. How can I make this an actual conversion factor? Kilo is the same as 10 to the third. That one I do have memorized. Times. Now, Rob, that has gotten rid of kilometers. Right now we're in meters. See it? Where do we want to end up in? So what do I want on the bottom of my next fraction, kiddo? No, I want to end up in millimeters. So where do I want the millimeters to be in my next fraction? On the bottom? On the top. So what's going to go on the bottom? What do I need to cancel in the previous fraction? Yeah, that's how you can tell, because in the previous fraction, it hadn't been canceled yet, except this is nonsense, my friend. Milli is the same in the bottom as what? 10 to the? Is it -3?
Yeah.
Yep. So it looks like I'm going to go 342.5 times 10 to the third divided by 10 to the -3. Again, no scientific notation buttons here. I'm actually going to type a times, a 10, and a to the power of, which is different from rewriting numbers in scientific notation. And I know it's a little bit confusing to keep straight. 342.5 times 10 to the power 3 divided by 10 to the power -3. You get 5 zeros?
Yep.
You know what? It's probably going to be shorter to write that in scientific notation. You can write 3, 4, 2, 5 and 5 zeros. I'm going to go 3.425. Times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I agree with whoever said 8. Now expect to get it right. I heard a few people, I got it right. Yep, now let's expect it. The reason I like this method, Emma, is you can use this if they throw you a curveball if you know common knowledge conversion factors. Let me show you what I mean. Here's a multi-step one, number 6. How many seconds in 1 week? First of all, I always got to ask, anybody know? Okay. I don't. I never bothered memorizing it. I can figure it out. You know how I'm going to do? Start? You know what I'm going to do first? Even before that, how have I started every single unit conversion factor question? I'm going to write down what they gave me. What did they give me? 1 what? I'm going to write down, because I don't want, it's, Shaq, so much less intimidating if my work area isn't blank anymore, if I've written something down, right? I'm going to go 1. W, good abbreviation for week?
Sure.
Does anybody know how many seconds in a week? Okay, does any, if you may calculate it, that's one thing, but off the top of their head, no? What unit of time can I break a week into that all of you know because you've grown up here in North America? You know how many hours are in a week? I know how many days are in a week. That one I have off the top of my head. How many days in a week? That's my conversion factor. Now stop. Multiply. What's going to go on the bottom? Weeks or days? I want weeks to cancel. I want days to stick around. How many days is how many weeks? I guess a 7 goes there and a 1 goes there. And can you see, Jeff, the W cancels, and this is now in days. Do you know how many seconds in 1 day? I don't. What can I break days into that I do have memorized because I've grown up here in North America? Sure. Use knowledge that you have. Where's the days going to go in the next fraction, on the top or on the bottom?
Bottom.
And hours on the top. What is the conversion factor? How many hours is how many days? 24 hours? 1 day? Oh, I don't know. I haven't got there yet. Rob, the days would cancel, yes? We're in hours. What do we want to end up in? What's the question asking? What do we want to end up in? Seconds. Are we there yet?
No.
Okay. Do you know how many seconds are in an hour? Now, by about November, most of you probably will know how many seconds are in an hour because it's by far the most common conversion that we'll do this year, going from kilometers per hour to meters per second. But for now, I heard Shaq say, well, I know how many minutes. Yeah, What can I break hours into? Minutes? So Shaq, let's keep going. We want hours to cancel, so where's it going to go? Where's minutes going to go? I can't use M for minutes because M is meters, so how about M-I-N? You also can't use M-I for minutes because M-I is miles. Minutes, sorry, you got a 3-letter abbreviation. Shaq, what's the conversion factor? How many minutes is how many hours?
1 hour is 60 minutes.
So 60 minutes, 1 hour. And you see that how that tells you where the numbers have to go? Yes? What's that you say, Shaq? The H's would cancel? I agree with you. What's our final conversion factor we're going to use? So minutes is going to cancel on the bottom, seconds on the top, and 60 seconds is 1 minute. By setting up this chain, can you see what it's going to be? It's going to be 1 times, oh, hang on. Zach, do I need to bother going 1 times? Say no. Okay. It's going to be 7 times 24 times 60 times 60. I guess divided by 1, divided by 1, divided by 1, divided by 1, but that's a waste of time. Some of you got there intuitively. Great. Like if you've done enough of this, you know what? 1 week I would just multiply. But this is what tells you whether you're multiplying or whether you're dividing, which is the most common issue. It's not that kids don't know the conversion factors. Manny, it's, Mr. Dueck, do I times or multiply here? I'll never answer that. I'll say, write down what they gave you, look at the units, and make them cancel. Yeah.
So on a test, we have to write it out like that?
Nope. I guarantee you, though, on your test, I'll give you some where you'll have to. In fact, you're going to notice in a couple of examples. What is 7 times 24 times 60 times 60? How many seconds is there in 1 week?
604,800.
Read me the digits. What? 6?
Yeah, 604,800.
Units? Seconds. Little more than 500,000 seconds in 1 week. Roughly how many weeks in a month? Roughly. How many weeks in a month? Roughly? 4? So roughly 2. So in a month, each time you guys go through a month, it's about a little more than 2 million seconds. Almost 2.5 million seconds. Hey, how many hours in 1 year? I don't know. Don't care. I can calculate it. How am I going to calculate it? I'm going to start out. There we go. Frozen for a second there. What am I going to do first?
Write down what you have.
Okay. By the way, technically using the letter Y for a year is wrong. Y is actually yards in the US. Technically the abbreviation for year is a lowercase a for annually. We're going to use the letter Y for years because we're proud Canadians. We don't need to kowtow to the Americans. There. No longer blank. Does anybody know how many hours in a year? Off the top of their head memorizing.
Yep.
You do?
Empty calculator.
Empty calculator?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to come back to you. I want you to jot it. Actually, let's see if he's right. I'm going to jot it here. What do you got?
8,760.
He thinks it's that. We'll find out.
Unless it's a new year. And
I don't know.
It's 8,700.
Not listening.
It's a new year. I mean leap year.
Leap year.
That's what I meant.
Aside from my friend Ben, what can you turn years into that most of you have memorized because you've grown up here in North America? How many days in a year? Technically wrong, but close enough, yes? What is it really, by the way? 365 and what? It's actually technically not a quarter. It's very close. It's close enough to a quarter that if we every 4 years have a leap year, that almost makes up for it. But every 100 years, which should be a leap year, we don't have a leap year, except every 1,000 years, which should not be a leap year, we do have a leap year. So the year 2000, because 100 goes into it, shouldn't have been a leap year, but because 1,000 went into it, it is a leap year. Those of you, and some of you will make it to 2100, 2100 won't be a leap year, even though 4 goes into it. 2096 will be a leap year. 2100, there'll be lots of news announcements. And by the way, this year is not a leap year. Print your calendars up properly. And that takes care of it, except we have to make an adjustment about every 8,000 years after that, but I don't plan on being around. Oh, and if you haven't had me before, I am the king of giving you useless, nerdy trivia. Comes with a package. Okay, we're in days. Oh, do we know how many hours are in a day? We're done. Hours, days, 24 hours, 1 day. Was Ben White right? If you go 365 times 24, is it 8,760? Someone shook their head. No? It is? Okay. $8,760 times, most of you are 17. Most of you are approaching or may have already passed, if you've already had your 17th birthday, about 150,000 hours old. Some of you are 16. Some of you, yeah, mentally are, yeah, okay. Number 8. How many seconds in a year? By the way, I should ask, does anybody here know how many minutes in a year?
Yep.
From rent? Or do you actually know this?
No, I know from rent. 525,600.
It's 520, what is it?
525,600 minutes.
There's a song from the musical Rent, and every year I have a couple of kids who have seen the musical, and they know how many minutes are in 1 year. And that's great. It's a conversion factor I've never bothered memorizing. I'm finding as I get older, my hard drive has less and less space and more bad sectors, and so I'm more and more selective in what I choose to memorize. So, if we didn't know that conversion factor, and we wanted to find out how many seconds in a year, what are we going to do first?
Write down what we have.
1 year. Now, if I had not done the previous example, I would now go from years to days, from days to hours. But I think we can go straight from years to hours because on the previous example, did we not, Halen, just generate our own conversion factor? So I'm actually going to go from years to hours. And what was the conversion factor? 8,760 hours is 1 year?
Mm-hmm.
Convenient. We're trying to end up in seconds. Can we go from hours to seconds? What can we go from hours to what? Okay, we can do that easy enough. 60 minutes is 1 hour. Can I go from minutes to seconds, Trish? Oh, great. Looks like 1 minute is 60 seconds. So I think we're going to go 8,760 times 60 times 60 divided by 1. You know what? 8,760 times, how about 60 squared instead of going 60 times 60? Why not use my exponent rules the way they're meant to be used? And I get 315, 36, and 3 zeros. 31, 53, 6, 31, 53, 6. Now, if I divide that number by 60, that should be how many minutes? Was Ben correct when he said 525,600 minutes? The movie Rent did at least do the math correctly. And you'd be amazed how often they don't. Units? Seconds. Sometimes, much like on your formula sheet, we'll give you a bunch of conversion factors. So here's a table of weights and measures. This is the Imperial crap that I don't like. For example, I know that there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer. How many feet in a mile? Got to look it up on there. It is on there. How many feet in a mile? What's it say? 5,280, because that's a nice easy round number to keep track of and memorize. Oh, better yet, how many feet in a nautical mile? 6,076.11549, because that's a nice easy one that just rolls off the tongue. So this is the Imperial system. What the heck is a gill? I thought that was something on a fish. No, it's actually a unit of volume in the Imperial system. There's some strange, bizarre units that... But because we do have our neighbors to the south, we'll spend a couple of minutes dealing with some of this just because they're our biggest trading partner. Any of you work in construction at all? Any of you do any construction work? Construction is still totally Imperial. So you talk about 2x4, that's 2 inches by 4 inches, or 2x6, that's 2 inches by 6 inches. All the measurements are still Imperial. So if any of you go working in the trades, you'll find the metric system has not encroached its way upon there yet. I wish it would, because it's sure a lot easier to keep track of stuff, but... Okay. McKinley, what's number 9 say? Do you know how many centimeters are in a mile off the top of your head? Do you?
No, I do not.
Ha ha! Okay. McKinley, what's the first thing I'm going to do?
Write down.
By the way, can't use an M for mile because that's meters. The abbreviation for mile is MI. Is there a conversion factor somewhere in this chart that relates miles to centimeters? Everybody say no.
No.
What can I change miles into? We're going to hopscotch our way, and Kyle, we're not going to panic. We're going to keep our eyes open and see what shows up. What can I change miles into here? Okay. Miles on the bottom, feet on the top. What is the conversion factor that relates miles and feet from this chart? How many feet is how many miles? 1 mile. What happened to the miles, Shaq? They cancel. Right now we're in feet. Okay. Is there something that relates feet to centimeters in that chart? Because if it was, we're done. No. Okay, what can I turn feet into? Well, it's not blatantly on there. It's sort of, kind of here. It's worth knowing that 12 inches is a foot. I know this because coaching basketball, most of the measurements there are also in Imperial. So, feet on the bottom to cancel, inches on the top, and I know 12 is the same as 1. And we now would be in inches if we stopped here. Rob, is there a conversion factor that relates inches to centimeters somewhere in that chart? Somewhere in that chart. I have no Imperial on your formula sheet because I hate it. I can't put it on a physics formula sheet. The chart that you have in front of you, by the way, that you're looking at right at your notes. Where are your notes?
Oh, my notes? They're right in front of me.
That chart that's right in front of you, looking down in front of you. Do you see something on that chart somewhere that relates inches to centimeters, my friend? What's that? You do see something that relates inches to centimeters, Rob? I knew I could count on you. Awesome. So, Rob, I can go inches on the bottom to cancel, centimeters on the top. Yes? What is the conversion factor? How many centimeters is how many inches according to your chart? 2.54. 2.54. I need to know what goes where. How many centimeters is how many inches? You said 1 centimeter is 2. You doing okay? You sure? Yeah, we're good? Okay, I'll leave you alone for the remainder of class. Go back to wherever you were. Okay. Physically. You know what? It looks like I'm going to go 5,280 times 12 times 2.54, and there's lots of ones, but Manny, do I care about the ones? No.
My calculator giving me a fraction.
Let's see.
It should equal
5,280 times 12 times 2.54. You figured out how to go from fraction to decimal? Could you do the same one? Okay. Do you get 160,000 that?
Yes.
By the way, technically, how many sig figs should I go to in this answer? 'Cause we're multiplying. What was the rule for sig figs for multiplying? Lowest one. Which is the smallest number of sig figs that I have in my conversion factors? Is this now here's the problem. This is where sig figs breaks down a little bit. You want to say 2 because you want to say that that's only accurate to 2 sig figs. But because 1 foot is defined as 12 inches, really that's exactly 12. That is 12.0000000, as many zeros as you want. So generally for unit conversions, what I'll tell you is either ignore sig figs or use the number of sig figs in the original piece of information that they gave you. Now, the original piece of information that they gave me was 1 mile, but I'm pretty sure they meant exactly 1 mile as well, that it's really actually they're talking about 1.00. So you know what? Ignore sig figs for this. So on a quiz or a test, if it's a unit conversion, unless I say give your answer to the proper number of sig figs, don't worry about it. Just give me your answer. So this is going to be 160,934.4. Units, centimeters. What if I have to convert 2 things at the same time? Example 10. What is 60 miles an hour in meters per second? Well, I need to somehow change miles to what? Meters. And hours to what? Can we do that all at the same time? We can do it in one long chain. We're going to do each conversion one at a time. But you know how I'm going to start things out? Curtis, not Curtis. What's the first thing I'm going to do? Mr. Curtis in the back. How have I started every other question? What's the first thing I'm going to do, kiddo?
Write something down.
What am I going to write down, oh pray tell, Captain Obvious?
60.
Yep. Alex, you're going to say, write down what they gave me. That's what you were dying to say, right? Are you Alex? Yeah. Okay, you look so stunned when I kind of peered around you. You were aching to just burst. Write down what did they give me? 60 what? Now, I'm going to do one more thing. When you type, slanty fractions are easier. They're stupid and more complicating when you write. Write it as a vertical fraction. Do yourself a favor. Write 60 mi over h, because now you can clearly see what's on the top, what's on the bottom, and how to cancel stuff, Jake. Jake, we need to get rid of the miles and we need to get rid of the hours. We're going to do one at a time. Doesn't matter which one you do first. Do you want to get rid of the miles first or you want to get rid of the hours first? I don't care. Pick.
Miles.
Miles? Okay. So where's miles right now? Top or bottom? So it's going to go in the bottom in my next fraction. I want to end up in meters. Do I have a conversion factor for meters in my little, Rob, chart that's sitting right here up here that I gave? Is there one? No? What can I go from miles into? Okay. And it was 5,280 feet is 1 mile? Okay, right now we are in feet per hour. Let's keep going until we get to meters per hour. Then we'll deal with the hours. Is that okay, Jake? Feet. Can I go from feet to meters? No? Okay. What can I go from feet into? Okay. Cancel out the feet. 12 inches is 1 foot. Can I go from inches to meters? No? Inches to centimeters? Okay. And it was, Rob, what was the conversion factor between inches and centimeters? How many centimeters is how many inches?
1 inch is 2.54 centimeters.
So how many centimeters is how many inches? Can you read it in the reverse order, please?
2.54 centimeters.
That makes more sense because that's how I'm writing it. Yes? Uh-huh. Good. Good to see you stayed here. I can go from centimeters to meters. Now I'm actually going to be using a metric 10 to the. So let's see. We said I want centi to cancel. I want meters. This is a lie. Oh, what can I replace centi with? 10 to the what according to my yellow formula sheet? -2. Okay. By the way, the other shorter thing we could have done, right above in red, I do have a conversion factor from miles to centimeters. And I don't think we rounded it off at all. I don't think. I could have gone from miles to meters and skipped the intervening feet, inches, but whatever. That's meters per hour. Jake, now let's go deal with the hours. Where are the hours right now in my original fraction, on the top or on the bottom? So where am I going to put them in my conversion factor so that it'll cancel? Yes, that's the key. I need to realize that, oh, stay in the same color, Mr. Dueck. Hours is going to be on top. Do I know how many seconds in an hour? No, but I can go minutes. 1 hour is 60 minutes. That H and that H way back there will cancel. This is meters per minute. If I type this in, I want to get meters per second. Where is the minutes right now? Top or bottom? Bottom. So Dane, where am I going to put minutes in my next conversion factor? Darn right. Seconds and 1 minute, 60 seconds. Double check as I look through the units. The only thing that didn't cancel on the top is a meters. The only thing that didn't cancel on the bottom is a second. You don't have to physically put a line through them, Trevor, but I find it helps because then I just zoom out at the end and I do a quick double check. Is what I wanted left on the top? Woohoo! Is what I wanted left on the bottom? Woo! Then I'm probably right. And Trevor, it looks like it's going to be 60 times 5,280 times 12 times 2.54 times 10 to negative 2 divided by 60 divided by 60. Good, get your calculators out. By the way, I know because I've done this a lot that to go from miles per hour to meters per second, it's roughly dividing by 2. I'm expecting an answer pretty close to 60 divided by 2. I think the answer is going to be around 30 meters per second. Yes? Yeah, that's my, if I'm on the road doing some physics because I'm a nerd and I do tend to do that when I'm in the passenger seat and I'm in the U.S. looking at speed limits and I got to go to meters per second and I'm roughly divided by 2. What'd you get, Rob? 26 point. We'll go to 3 sig fig. I don't know what to round off to. We'll go to 3 sig figs. Units, Rob, my friend. Meters per second. Is it 26.8? I didn't double check. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds right. I know it's roughly half. This was accurate 4 years ago when I typed this up. I haven't checked to see if somebody has beaten it, but when I typed this up, Andrew J. Whitaker of West Virginia was the highest Powerball winner ever. He won $314,900,000 in the 2002 Powerball lottery. I'm going to assume every one of you has at least once imagined winning a lot of money and thought to yourself, what could I do with it? How long would it last? How much could I spend? So, part A says, suppose he spends $1,000 a day. It's a chunk of change. How many years will it take for him to spend his money? Can he spend it in his lifetime? This is a job for some unit conversion. Okay. Kyle, how much is he spending per day? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the total amount of money, and if I divide it by $1,000, that should tell me how many days. Does that make sense so far? And then I think I can go from days to years. Okay, so I'm going to go 314,900,000. I'm going to divide it by 1,000. What do you get? Oh, you just knock off 3 zeros, yeah? It's 314,900. It would take him that many days to spend that money. How many years? Write down what they gave me. 314,900 days. What do I want to end up with? Years? Do I have a conversion factor that goes from days to years? Oh, yeah. This is a one-stepper, actually. I know a conversion factor. I'm going to put days on the bottom, years on the top. How many years is how many days? One year is 365 days? Okay. If he spends $1,000 a day, how many years will it take him to spend it all? 800 and... So I don't think it's 862. I think if you're going to round off 863-ish. He needs to spend faster if he was going to spend it all on himself. Actually, I did some research, and it turns out that I was going to say he only received $114 million. Now, what a stupid place to put the word only. Let me rephrase that. After taxes, he still received $114 million. What a dumb way to say only. He's getting $114 million. Suppose he spends $5,000 per day. Can he spend this in his lifetime? Well, let's start off doing the same, because we divided the amount of money by $1,000 per day to find out how many days. Let's divide it by 5,000. So 114 divided by 5,000 is how many days?
22,800.
22,800 even? Anybody else? Yes? Okay. How many years is that? Let's see. Write down what they gave me. Oh, not years, Mr. Dueck. Days. I want days to cancel. Years on top. 1 year. 22,800 divided by 365. Ah! 62 and a half years? 62.5? I think I recall reading that he was 37 when he won this. So if he spends at this rate and lives to his 90s, he can go broke. It is possible. Now, spending $5,000 a day is much tougher than you... That'd be really easy. That's actually tougher than you realize. There's only so many cars you can buy before you're just got a parking lot and can't put more... It's not as easy as you think. Anyways, a little lotto math for you. You've probably wondered some of that. Video for you.